What's up, everybody? On today's episode of The Fight Life, we are joined by Karina Taylor. She is trying out for season 20 of The Ultimate Fighter. We're also joined by world-renowned boxer Anna Hultin, who's going to be making her mixed martial arts debut with ONE FC in Asia. And of course, as always, you're going to have Smash Fields doing his On the Bandwagon segment. But let's go ahead and jump straight into this. Anna Hultin. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fight Life Studios. We are here with Anna Hultin. She has recently signed with ONE FC. She's going to be fighting with that organization. She's a professional boxer as well, multiple world champion titles. How's it going today?
Oh, it's going great. Cool. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming down. We know that you're really busy with your schedule and everything recently taking place with your signing and stuff. So we definitely thank you for making it down. But let's talk a little bit about this. You're already an international star for boxing, and now you're going into mixed martial arts. Let's talk about that decision.
Well, I have a background in martial arts. It's my first passion. I got into boxing because of martial arts, and so being able to just fully enthrall my whole life around boxing, I feel like now is the right moment. I got to talk with the president of ONE FC, Victor Cooey, and he presented this amazing opportunity where not only can I fight for MMA, fight for ONE FC, but also pursue my boxing career. So this is an opportunity for me to excel as a two-sport fight athlete. So I'm really excited about it.
All right, cool. Well, let's talk about that background that you have, in martial arts and how you feel it's going to transition into MMA.
I feel like with martial arts, it's all about technique, despite the size and so forth. It's all about being able to put yourself in a better position before your opponent. I have a background and black belt in Taekwondo, also with Kempo Karate. My father is a Wing Chun practitioner, so I do a lot of striking, a lot of inside fighting and so forth. And, just being able to have all of that and have it just, just put together with boxing, it gets me just pumped up, since martial arts is my first passion. I feel like I'm back into my childhood days. It brings that element out of me. So with this opportunity to fight in all over Asia, it has 1 billion viewership there. How can you pass something like that up?
Right. That is something that a lot of people tend to overlook. Everybody considers the UFC to be the giant, but when it really does boil down to viewerships and a lot of other things, you can't really compete with the Asian markets. So it is an excellent opportunity for you to blow up in MMA. People already know who you are, but in mixed martial arts, doing what that is. Let's talk a little bit about the game planning and transitioning, because like you said, you have that background in Taekwondo, then boxing. Obviously, things like stances, footwork are completely different in all those different sports. So let's talk about your training.
Yeah, it's funny because with martial arts, they're different styles will, have a certain core method, and you can find that same methodology in different arts. You just have to be experienced enough and just kind of be a little bit more versed in the martial arts to kind of see the threads of continuity. So everything is, as long as you can break something down into its basic element, it's readable. You know what I mean? So just with that said, I kind of feel like there's this quote that I just absolutely love from Miyamoto Musashi. I don't know if you're familiar with
Book of Five Rings.
Yes, Book of Five Rings. And he would say, to know one way is to know all ways. And, a couple years ago, I was talking with Eric about it. I was working jiu-jitsu back in 2009 because I was actually thinking of transitioning into MMA. But I ended up getting a call for a world title fight for boxing. And I'm like, hey, let's do it. I won my first world title and it changed my life. So a few years later, here I am, just being able to make the transition. It's just, for me personally, I feel like I can see the lines, and it's all about its root element of positioning. Can I get there before this other person? And I already know what this person's going to do because this is their style, this is their game. You have to be intuitive, and you have to be able to be very versatile, and you have to adapt on the moment, just like in boxing. So I feel like I have that ability into something like this.
It is something that a lot of people don't ever pay attention to. A lot of people go in and they train and they wonder why they're not getting better. But, there are people that, like yourself, that have that outlook where I guess when everything you do is very precise. So I find that amazing that you can, talk about it that way, because not too many people look at at the sports broken down to where it's like, okay, I've excelled here. This is how I did it. You know, it was about focused training. So, you know, let's talk about how you developed that edge.
I'd say it's a long time coming. I mean, I got to train with Manny Pacquiao and Freddie Roach in my earlier parts of my professional boxing career, and you know, it was hard to kind of empty my cup because all of my background was just martial arts. So I'm used to seeing certain lines versus boxing. It's a little bit different. You have to, you know, learn and achieve different styles in it. And there was this one thing that Manny said that just, you know, to this day I still think about. He said, at the end of the day, it's still a sport. And I'm thinking, this guy just had killers in the sparring ring with them, and you're trying to, you know, go after each other. But instead of calling it a fight, he called it a sport. And so I really had to, you know, it took me years to kind of understand that concept. And so here I am, and you know, I still have that in the back of my head, and that's how I kind of see the fighting arts, whether it be boxing or mixed martial arts.
Okay, so you know, let's talk a little bit about the jiu-jitsu side of it. You know, obviously you said that you've been working on that for a while. How's that part of it?
I love it. It's funny, I had a conversation about it earlier where with jiu-jitsu, it's the type of style where you don't necessarily need a lot of aggression. It's all about pure technique. In fact, the more tense that you are, the easier it is for your opponent to gain an advantage over you. And there's this terminology in boxing that goes where you don't want a boxer to get caught up in a fight. So if you're using your distance, you're using your footwork, and you're trying to keep, you know, staying with your game, but you have a brawler that's coming after you, and they're trying to make it into a fight, you don't want to get caught up in the fight. I feel like with a jiu-jitsu practitioner, they can easily have their opponents get drawn into a jiu-jitsu fight, play it into their game. So I was told in boxing, styles make fights. In martial arts, I was told that you never want to bring a knife to a gunfight. So, you know, you just got to be careful with your positioning and stuff. So that's jiu-jitsu to me. Cool.
Have you ever worked on, let's say, the other element, like the wrestling?
Yeah, yeah, wrestling, man, it's intense. It's tight. I had a few of my friends who have big wrestling backgrounds and stuff, and they're showing me the techniques, and they're showing me how a wrestler would think. So I got to apply some of it, and it's actually quite easy as long as you don't think too much about it. Kind of like Bruce Lee, you know, a kick is a kick, a punch is a punch, but you don't want to get too caught up with the technique. It's all about the timing and knowing exactly which key points you want to go after right at that moment. You know what I mean? So with wrestling, it's completely different than jiu-jitsu. Obviously, they're both ground games, but they have like their own methodology of fighting.
Right. You know, because I grew up wrestling and kickboxing, and the thing was, when I first started doing jiu-jitsu, I had a really hard time because it's constant aggression in wrestling, and it's, you know, basically it's a rough sport because all you're doing is whoever can outmuscle the other one for the most part. There is technique, you know, it's very like subtle, but you see it with the really, really good guys. But yeah, I mean, that part of the jiu-jitsu, you know, when I stepped into that, man, I get myself in a bad positioning, easy. So that's why I'm always kind of curious, especially when somebody's building this MMA base, you know, how the wrestling is always kind of coming along, because that's, a lot of people say that's probably one of the harder points for them to have to pick up on.
Yeah, it's really demanding, no doubt about that. I almost feel like it's a martial arts way of football.
Right.
You just got to come right at them.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way of looking at it. So let's get back to the stuff with ONE FC, and how you kind of said that they, you know, got in contact with you, but you are one of the only fighters that's going to be able to do the two sports. What does that mean to you?
No. It means exactly that. I mean, it's for me, I've always had a passion with the fighting arts, and just to have an opportunity like this is just something that you just can't leave to rest. If I were to say no to something like that, you know, 10, 20 years down the line, when, you know, if I'm not actively in the fight games anymore, I'm going to sit there and think, what the heck were you thinking about? Why'd you, you know, not take that offer, take that deal? And for me, I feel like with ONE FC, I feel like it's a real true test for a warrior. And I really want to test out, you know, my skills and everything that I've put my entire life into for the past, you know, I've been doing martial arts for over 20 years. And so I feel like this will be a great outlet to kind of see where I'm at. You know what I mean? So for me, I feel like I have that competitive spirit. I just want to enthrall in it. I want to live in the moment, and I just want to go right to it.
Now let's talk a little bit about the rule set, because they're basically pride rules. Mm-hmm. You know, you can do soccer kicks, kick down opponents, all those type of things. Do you think that was going to play well into your background and the way that you transition?
Sure, why not? I mean, I think, despite what the rules are, you got to be prepared for anything. I mean, in boxing, for instance, there's no elbows and there's no grabs and stuff like that. It happens, in one of my cuts or one of my fights, I ended up getting an elbow and it cut part of my eyebrow. And I'm like, okay, great. That wasn't even a punch. It was just a freak accident, right? So for ONE FC to have the authentic rules, yeah, it's intense. No doubt about it. I'm staying legit with my training. I'm making sure everyone's all on board. I'm on board. But I think that's what makes it so unique and just kind of just like what is called authentic rule. That's how fighting should be like. And so I'm just glad to be a part of something like that. I think it's something that I would like to experience in my lifetime, you know what I mean? Just to be able to say, hey, I was in the cage, and you know what? They had this thing called authentic rules where you can have soccer kicks when you're laid out on the floor. So, in boxing, they always say protect yourself, the same damn thing over in ONE FC.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about camps, because you've obviously done tons of boxing camps. What's the major difference for you doing preparation for MMA versus preparation for boxing?
It's kind of crazy. Just being in boxing for like 10 years, like I've grown to learn that the higher up you get up there, the more advanced you get, more people would want to try and copy and just kind of record, videotape, and so forth, or try to get you distracted. And I feel like with all the different arts that are involved in mixed martial arts, it's no different. Everyone has their own moves. If you go to different camps, they have like their own go-to technique that they will want to do. That's not necessarily traditional in the arts, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to have your own secret way of training, and it's kind of like old school Shaolin monks, training for protecting their monastery and so forth. So I feel like at this level, it's you gotta keep everything secretive.
All right, perfect. So when can we expect to see you step in the cage?
May 2nd is the day of the fight. It'll be in Manila, Philippines, at the Mall of Asia. I'm excited. It's supposed to be sold out with 20,000 people coming in to watch it live, with 1 billion viewership all over the continent of Asia. A whole entire continent of over 70 countries are going to be watching. So for me, I'm excited about that, but obviously I'm more focused on the fight at hand, and as soon as everything is done, I'll be able to just kind of digest that whole idea. But yeah.
So that is something I was wondering about, because you do know how big the arena itself is. That many viewers, does that ever add any pressure, or do you think that boxing is kind of smooth that over for you?
Yeah, I have to attribute a lot of dealing with pressure with boxing, because on my first fight, I had to fight a girl who had 11 pro fights and had already world title fight experience already. I dropped her twice, but it's been a hard road. On my fourth, with only 4 wins, I ended up winning a world title against a veteran of the sport and a legend of the sport, and I ended up getting to just escalate and escalate and escalate, where I ended up going to other people's hometowns, their different countries for world title fights. On one of them, I fought in front of 40,000 people in Argentina, where everyone in there was just rooting against me. So to take all of that and just kind of say, hey, that's a day in the life as a boxer. What's 20,000 people and 1 billion people watching you on the day of a fight? At the end of it all, just like in a boxing ring, it's still a square ring, as they call it. And you just got to focus on your fight. You got to focus on your game. You got to focus on you. It's you at the end of the day.
Perfect. Now, if anybody wants to follow you, social media or otherwise, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Okay. As long as I get my name right, you could find me. AnnaHultin.com. So Anna, A-N-A, so 1 N, Julaton.com. You could plug that same name for Facebook, so Anna Hultin Official, Twitter, Instagram, so forth. Just get my name right.
Perfect. Well, we definitely want to thank you for taking the time to come down, talk to us about, your big signing there with the ONE FC, and we look forward to seeing that fight. So thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
It is Smash time here on the bandwagon. I am your host as usual, Smash Fields. And before I get into anything, guys, let's just make sure that we get this out of the way. The views and opinions expressed on the bandwagon, which is presented to you by The Fight Life, are the views of, Smash Fields, solely myself, guys. Anything that I say to you is for me. My opinions, my way, my rant. So, staying on that subject, what I'm going to be on the bandwagon about, guys, is, really I'm not on the bandwagon about it, is how you've got the promotions, whether they be the higher ups or the lower ranking organizations in MMA. How you got those guys now that are kind of trying to censor what the media is saying and the things that they want to say, which I can understand if it's, a deep journalistic piece and things like that. There's been a lot of hardcore facts and things like that have been going to it. But when you have an opinionated piece, much like what On the Bandwagon is, you can't really censor that sort of thing. You can't really try to push that media to represent what you want them to represent. Guys, I'll be the first person to say it on my own accord. I'm not a journalist by any means. I'm just Smash Fields. I'm up here giving you a rant, telling you how I feel about certain things. So the way that I look at it is it's really simple, guys. Let the media be the media. Let freedom of speech continue to ring out, which is, what we were granted when we all started this thing in the first place. The media gives the fighters a voice. It gives guys like myself a voice. So we're going to continue to look at that voice. So I'm not on the bandwagon for promotions getting involved in the media, but I am on the bandwagon for freedom of speech. America!
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fight Life Studios. We are here with Karina Taylor. She's going to be trying out for Tough 20. The tryouts are here right around the corner. And, let's do a little bit of an introduction and talk about your career.
My name's Karina Taylor. I fight at 115 pounds. I'm originally from Lacey, Washington, where it rains way too much up there, too cold. I am a former military police officer. I got out in 2004. And I am a MMA fighter for about the last 8 years now.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because I brought it to your attention that you were one of the first people that I ever sparred with in Las Vegas. So that was when Extreme Couture first opened up. So, we've got to be looking 7 years at least.
Yeah, at
so
least 7 years.
You've been around for a while.
How'd I do?
You did okay.
Yeah?
You tapped me.
Ah, right there.
There you go.
Yes.
So, let's talk about that, because you were with Extreme. You're also with Master Toddy's, which that gym's not around anymore. But let's talk about the influence that some of those gyms have had, and you've also trained with a lot of other reputable coaches as well.
Yes, I actually started out at an LA Boxing with. Do you remember Kit Cope?
Yeah.
He was, I was taking one of his kickboxing classes at LA Boxing a long time ago off of Rainbow in 215. And I went in there, I was really out of shape and really overweight back then. And after the class got over, I was seriously hunched over I'm about to die, And everyone's laughing and I'm like, I'm gonna be a pro fighter. That's it, I'm gonna be a pro MMA fighter. And everyone's laughing at me because again, I'm really out of shape and overweight and I could barely breathe. And it was funny because back then a lot of them thought, this girl's not gonna keep doing this. She'll be here for another day of the week and then we will never see her again. But I stayed through it, and then from there I went to Master Toddy's in Extreme Couture. Actually in Fight Club. Do you remember Fight Club?
That was in this very building.
Actually, Fight Club originated next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, next door. And some of my coaches over there were Tony Fricklin and Kevin Randleman. Oh wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That definitely was. Now you also trained under Sean Tompkins?
Yes. Sean Tompkins was my first real coach. He was my stand-up and MMA coach. I trained with him over at Extreme Couture. After he left Extreme Couture and he came over here to Tap Out, then I followed him over here, and he was pretty much my coach my entire time I was fighting. It was really hard when he passed away. After he passed away, I was talking to him the night he passed away, and we were just talking about, he just walked me through my last win, and we were talking about how he was like, oh, you have a bright future, you're finally, ready to the level that I think you're ready to just go and, take over the world. And so we were really excited, and the next day someone calls me and is like, oh, did you hear what happened in the Tompkins house? What do you mean what happened in the Tompkins house? And they're like, he passed away. And I'm like, oh, that's not a funny joke. That's not a funny joke, but found out, yes, it was true. And it was just so weird talking to someone the night before and then the next day someone telling you that. It's a bad joke. And I took a lot of time after that, because once you find a good coach that you really, mesh well with, it's hard to find another coach, someone that you really get along with and like their coaching skills. So now it's finally, I'm back training with Drysdale, who I trained with over at Extreme Couture. Did you train with him a little over there too?
I was basically gone by the time he came in. I stopped in and did a couple of classes there, but I'd been moving around a lot, so I actually moved up to Washington.
State?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Spokane.
Oh, it's cold and hot there, both.
Yeah.
Nice. Were you training up there? Wasn't Misha up there at that time?
She was going up to the Sick Jitsu, but I was part of 10th Planet.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, it was a great experience.
Did you how long did you live up there for?
3 years.
3 years? Okay.
Yeah. So I reffed and judged MMA stuff, and
Okay.
then that's pretty much how it works.
Nice. I hope to fight in Washington one day.
Yeah.
On a UFC card though.
Seattle. There you go.
That would be nice.
That'd be perfect. So let's get back to what wound up happening there, because sometimes people discount what happens to a fighter when they do lose that coach. I've talked to multiple people that were part of Team Tompkins, and a lot of them, even to this day, seem to be kind of lost.
Yes.
I guess is the best way to put it.
That is exactly. I think what's it been, about 2 years? August of 2011 is when he passed away. And I just now, within this year, have finally found like my new head coach. I mean, Drysdale, yeah, he's my coach. He's awesome. He's my MMA and, jiu-jitsu coach. I mean, he's like the best of the best. But my head coach now is Coach Ken Hahn. I'm sure you've probably...
Striking him a bit.
Yes. And, normally I've had a mix of like my stand-up coach and my ground coach. And it's just like, finally, I found someone that I can work with, that everything works well with. I mean, because sometimes it's hard, Some coaches, they're good coaches, but they're just not the right coach for you. You don't work very well together. But sometimes it's, it's hard. You get lost for a while there.
So now you obviously you have found a home. You have great coaches behind you, and now you're going to be trying out for the Ultimate Fighter. So
yes.
Let's talk about that opportunity.
I'm very excited for that. That is actually the 28th of this month. I remember one person I told a long time ago. I've always, watched a little bit of fighting and everything. A long time ago, right when Tito Ortiz and Jenna Jameson first started dating back then, I text Tito and I was like, during one of the fights, I was like, oh, hey, congrats on you and Jenna. And by the way, I'm going to fight in the UFC one day, blah, blah, blah. And, he's like, oh, that's never going to happen. And now it's like, my friends, when they told me, they're like, Karina, are you sitting down right now? I'm like, why? And they're like, are you sitting down? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I mean, tell me, what's the bad news? And they're like, they just opened the 115-pound weight class to the UFC, and I freaked out. I was so excited.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the preparation leading up to this. There was a day a while back where I had to take over on some duties for you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You don't remember this?
No. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What happened?
No, because you weren't actively competing, so you were trying to stay out of the grappling because you wanted to be fully prepared for this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when I had to do your timekeeping.
Oh my God! I forgot about that with Fight Block, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot about that. Yeah. Everyone was asking me how come I wasn't competing. I'm like, no. I have to make sure I'm good. I wanted to make sure I was injury free, because I train a lot right now. I work part-time for First Choice Business Brokers for Ed Smith. He's the #1 business broker in all of Nevada. And then I train 3 to 5 hours a day. So it really just depends on which day it is and how my body is feeling at the time.
So, let's talk a little bit about balance and finding that, because, there's a lot of people out there who for some reason think that a lot of you fighters don't work. They think that you guys just do in the gym, you guys are training all the time. But, let's talk about that, balancing that aspect of your life.
Well, it's hard. Right now I'm working part-time. I used to work full-time. I used to actually be a medical assistant for the VA, which I had to resign because I filmed that show, The Ultimate Women's Challenge, the one that never aired. But it's hard. Like, even when I was working full-time, my day consisted of going straight in the morning to work, and then on my lunch break, when normal people would be going and having lunch, I would change and I'd go do a 2-mile run, come back to work, change, go back to the work for the rest of the day, get off like say around 5 p.m. and then that's pretty much just when my day started, because then I would train from 5 to sometimes 10 o'clock at night, just all in a row, because I didn't have time to do during the day like I am fortunate enough to now.
And let's talk a little bit too about the fact that there have been people that just thought that you never get to where you are, or
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity that you have. Does that inspire you to do the best that you can?
Yes, it does. I've been through a lot, especially in the military and everything, where when I have something in mind, my mind, like a goal or something that I want to do, like I don't stop until I do it. I keep going, I keep going, I keep going. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. It might take me a little while and I might not do it in a timely fashion, but eventually I take care of business. Try.
Perfect. So with the tryouts, if you get into the house, what should we expect to see from you?
Well, I'll be trying to get along with a bunch of girls, which that's usually kind of hard. So that'll be entertaining. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. You'll get to see us training hard. Not only me, but everyone else will be training hard. And I'm sure that one of my other friends, Heather Clark, she's going to be trying out for the show as well. We filmed the other show that didn't air together, and we were both talking in the gym the other day. We were like, yeah, we'll fight each other. We were like, cool, but it's like, we're friends, so it's okay. Like, some people also get that confused. They think if you fight someone that you're just automatically, you hate each other, don't like each other, when half the time it's just like you're good buddies and you're cool anyway.
Yeah, there was a season when Mike Chiesa won, and those are guys from Spokane, and like I've when I was reffing and judging, you see him and Sam Cecilia together all the time because they're like brothers basically, and I used to always wonder about that when they were on the season together. I was like, I hope they don't have to fight each other because they're such good friends. But they knew that it was an amazing opportunity, and I think that if you really want what's best for your friend, you're going to go in there and you're going to fight it out.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that? I think it's a better fight when you actually have to fight one of your friends that is one of your training partners, because you know each other's secrets. You guys know what you're both really good at, so it's going to be a harder fight just because you know what to expect from the other person. So it's going to be longer and more entertaining, in my personal opinion.
All right, perfect. Aside from that, do you have anything else coming up?
Actually, depending on what goes on with the Ultimate Fighter, there's a bunch of things going on. If I don't, which I hope I do, if I don't make Ultimate Fighter, then the end of May I have a fight lined up, and then I have another one in June lined up as well. And then there's also Worlds, Jiu-Jitsu Worlds is coming up. So there's a bunch of stuff. So no matter what, I'm going to be completely busy.
So with a lot of that stuff going on, let's talk about stuff outside of fighting a little bit. What do you do in your day-to-day life, or when you have time to kind of kick back? What do you do with that time?
I like to go hiking and have my own personal little adventures. For about the last 3 weeks now, I've gone somewhere new every weekend. One weekend I went camping down to Gold Strike Canyon. Do you know where that is? Oh, it's amazing down there. It's a hike through this canyon. It's probably about 2 miles down, and then there's hot springs all along the way. And then at the very end, you end up on the Colorado River, and there's like this great spot to camp. So like you can sit halfway in the water of the river and where the hot spring meets the river, and it's really nice up there. Make sure you bring water though, because one of my friends that went with me, he's like, no, I'm good on water. I'm like, you sure? We almost got to the end, you almost died. I was like, are you serious? I'm not carrying you back, you can stay there. But then also, that was one place. I went to Zion for my first time. That was fantastic. And then I was late today because I just got back from Death Valley, which was fantastic out there. Fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're definitely going to be looking forward to anything that's coming up in the future, with you. If fans want to be able to follow you or do anything like that on social media, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
On Twitter, it is Cat5Fighter. That's cat as in C-A-T, the number 5, and then fighter. A lot of people don't know what Cat5Fighter stands for. They're always like, oh, you're a cat, you like to fight cats, what's going on with that? And a nickname that people gave to me a long time ago was Hurricane. And it stuck with me. And to me, it's a little controversial because Hurricane Karina, Hurricane Katrina. So rather than just use Hurricane, I'm also known as the Category 5 Fighter, which is the worst hurricane, which I think that's a little more politically correct than, Hurricane Karina. Okay. I don't run around causing havoc on other people's lives. Unless you're in the ring.
There you go. All right, so if you guys need to follow or want to follow, be sure that you check her out at Cat5Fighter. We want to thank you for taking the time to be on, talk about your experiences and everything that you have coming up. So thank you.
Of course. When are you coming to my gym to train?
You're going to have to find time.
I'll be more than happy to tap you out again.
Okay.
Deal.
Hey everybody, we want to thank you for watching this last episode of The Fight Life. Once again, we want to thank Anna Hultin and Karina Taylor for taking the time to come down to the studio and talk to us about their journey into the mixed martial arts world and everything that they've accomplished so far. We also want to thank Smash Fields for his On the Bandwagon segment. The guy never fails. So once again, without you, there is no us, and you are Fight Life Media.